What's going on, Pokemon Go trainers? Welcome to episode 96 of Lured Up, a podcast where we take Pokemon Go way more seriously than we do ourselves. Lured Up is part of the Pokemon Professor Network, and today is Sunday, September 15th, 2019, Turtwig Community Day. I'm your host, Ken Pescatore, joined by my co-hosts, Adam Tuttle and Melissa Pescatore. Hi, friends. Hello.
Hey.
How are you?
How's it going?
How are you today?
What's up? Doing flippin-tastic.
Are you having a good weekend?
Yeah. Oh my god, it was a lot of fun.
Well, guys, we're not
I
alone.
I can tell you about it, but
No way.
We're not alone.
You're kidding.
I don't want to hear about it. I want to hear about our guest.
Who is
who?
it?
Who do we have on?
We're joined by Liz George, Global Community Manager for Pokemon Go for Niantic. What's up, Liz? How are you?
Hello, happy Turtwig Day.
Yay! How are you?
I'm great. How about you guys?
We are
Awesome.
so good. I cannot
Even
wait to
better
talk
now?
to you. And just so you know, this was 7 months in the making.
Oh my
Yeah.
So awesome.
Yeah.
It was literally that long of trying to make it happen, and we're finally here. I'm very excited. We're gonna get to know you in just a second after I get through my housekeeping rigmarole.
Here we go.
This podcast is powered by Patreon. Please check ours out over at patreon.com/PokemonProfessor, where you can support this show for as little as $1 a month. And that $1 will get you access to our patron-exclusive Discord, which is a fantastic place filled with fantastic people.
You know what? It sure is.
And I want to give a huge shout-out to our show supporter tier patrons: Brittany J, Matt, M. Pitts, Terry, David, Chris, Sydney, Bacon L, The Noise, Harry, PokeNav, Bhatt, Purple Pancakes, Damn Gears Be Bangin', Lady Goobly Meat, Super Nerd, Fox, Go Ranger, Matt the Phoenix, Baker Boy, Jolt Switch, Alex, The Illustrious Overseer, Jason, Go Live Andrew, Matt from Kentucky, and Paul. And a huge shout out to our executive producer, Paul Bhatt. Thank you guys so incredibly much for your support. We really do appreciate
love
it.
you guys.
And if Patreon isn't your thing, there's still a couple ways you can help us out. If you're listening on YouTube, you can subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. And if you're listening via a podcast service like Apple Podcasts, you can take a moment to leave us a review. 5 stars are the best stars. All right, guys, we're not going to talk news today.
Nope.
No news.
No nerd stuff.
But there is
No nerd stuff.
that
What?
is
That's
coming
not
out.
normal.
Look, we've got a lot of stuff that's happening in the game. You're going to have to catch up on social media with us. We've got Gen 5 coming. It was Turtwig Community Day. It's going to be madness, but we cannot use that time today to talk about the news because we have Liz George from Niantic. Oh my God, Liz, honestly, this is so awesome that you're here. We've really looked forward to having you on the show.
You don't
and
understand.
I'm
Ken
so
has
excited
been,
that
dying to get you on. That's all
Yeah,
I've
when
been
he
thinking
first showed
about
me
for
the text
months,
hey, we're getting Liz on, I was like, I don't believe you.
Yeah.
And
Listen,
no.
listen, Adam, I am a very reliable person. When I say I'm going to do something, it's going to happen.
Yes.
Well, I wasn't sure.
But she would give me updates that there was no update. And I love those updates. That's my favorite kind of update. I'm like, see,
We're
this
going to
person-
need to make a
this
list of
person
all these
cares.
updates.
Yes, lots of lists and lots of updates. But Liz, why don't you introduce yourself? Let us know, who you are and what you do.
Like you said, I'm Liz George, and I'm the Global Community Manager for Pokemon Go. And no, I don't really get tired of saying that. I am Team Instinct and proud, and I'm sure we'll go into that a little bit later. And yeah, I'm just really excited to be here. Really excited to just talk about Pokemon Go and Niantic and all that fun stuff.
Awesome. And where are you from?
I was born in Ohio, but I moved very early in life to Florida, and I spent pretty much my entire life in Florida until I moved to California 2 years ago. So
Nice.
I'm here with my fiance Paul, and then my beautiful little long-haired dachshund Periwinkle.
All right.
Oh.
So wait, hold on. Hard stop. Periwinkle is a star.
She actually has a stamp.
What?
They, for some reason, this artist did a rendering of her and made her into a stamp for Mother's Day. So I will send you the link where you can purchase the print. But
No
at
way.
at a very young age, she was modeling. But yeah, but she's I do have a delinquent Instagram for her because, life's busy. And she's 13. She's an old lady. She
That's the
doesn't.
best. I love her. She's so cute. So absolutely cute. So funny.
Yeah, she's
So
my
funny.
little girl. So she's stuck with me through it all. So maybe you should interview her next time. She knows.
Yes,
she'll give you the real dirt.
She'll give us the yip and the yap.
Yeah. So, well, let's get through some of the formalities here. Your favorite Pokemon, or at least your current favorite Pokemon?
If I have to pick one, it's going to be Vaporeon, followed by like Alola Raichu. I adore Beware. Basically, I am Beware.
Yes.
And then like my favorite legendary is Suicune. Definitely, I call it Frosty Paws. I play it in Pokken tournaments. So
Nice.
And then Frillish, because Unova's coming, and it's just a cute little design. So, I mean, like I've said before, I have a lot, but those are the ones getting my favor at the moment.
I don't know Frillish. Yeah, I have no idea what it looks like.
It's a ghost water type. It has male and female, so one's the pink and blue, and then they evolve into Jellicent.
Oh, that's fun.
So they're really cool looking.
Oh, I can't wait. Give me those shadows.
So you mentioned in our conversations that you're also the unlicensed merch patrol. Like, tell me about this. What does that mean?
So every photo and video we produce essentially has to be reviewed for unlicensed merchandise. And somehow I just became this person that could look at a piece of Pokemon merchandise and be like, nope, that's a knockoff, and nope, that's real. Like, we joke about it pretty regularly. So I became that person. Like, my job is really, community management really doesn't explain like the role perfectly and in total, because I think community management has such a broad definition and term. So like I do a lot of, obviously community stuff, but I manage our influencers and partners in that way. I'm actually one part of the leads on the team for the marketing team. So we have a team that we support and they support us, but calling a lot of the directional shots is weird. And then, of course, being part of the cross-functional teams with product and engineering and art and design. And it's really cool to have a seat at that table, too, being like kind of like this round table of Pokemon nerds. And then I do a lot of the narrative and then responsible for like all the communications and brand voice. So it's kind of all over the place, but yeah, the unlicensed merch, I don't know. Like, I can spot a fake Pikachu for like a mile away.
So
That's a skill.
So you're actually like Pikachu. You wear many hats.
Yes.
Listen.
Sometimes too many.
Never, Adam. Adam, never. There's never enough until it's time to transfer them.
There's nothing wrong. Nothing wrong with being festive.
So, what's your as a gamer, like your in your personal life, non-professional life, is Pokemon all you're into? Like, are you gung ho in the Pokemon, or do you actually enjoy other properties as well?
I'm actually a gamer at heart, I think. I definitely adore Pokemon, obviously, but I can talk to you for quite some time about Animal Crossing. It's a community simulation, and being like community manager, I realized how sick it was by the time I had like 600 hours into Animal Crossing, where it's like, maybe I need a better hobby than community management. I play Monster Hunter quite a bit. Just finished up the latest installment in the Yakuza series, so I'm a little bit all over the place with that. Persona, and then my all-time favorite game, if I had to narrow it down, would be Jammer Lammy.
Oh, fantastic!
Whoa,
wonderful. That's so. Oh, that's really cool because it's I used to be a very, very diverse gamer, and I played tons of console games and did all types of weird competitive stuff. And it seems now that everything has just been like so narrowly focused to Pokemon. It's just like, I try to step out of that space if I can. And, it's hard. It's just like you stay within the Pokemon umbrella, and it's like, I can't escape.
Yeah. It's like the only thing that I can sidestep to is like Overwatch. 'Cause it's like, you can play a game and get out and then done.
Yes. So what's your history with the Pokemon franchise? Like, did you grow up into Pokemon, or did you have any like a connection to the franchise prior to Go?
Well, growing up, I always was around Pokemon. I don't think like growing up in the 90s you couldn't not be around Pokemon. I saw the anime and I was involved in that, but like our family, my dad was a chimney sweep. And so like very blue collar, we had, one console. Like I remember having like a Sega Genesis and like a Super Nintendo and things like that. But like handhelds weren't really something that all of us 4 kids could get. So it was more the anime being the influence and seeing those types of things. But I remember very distinctly going on the wait list at Blockbuster Video for Hey You Pikachu to rent it.
I can't believe you just said that. I really can't. I love you so much. Go on.
So I remember, and I was like super excited, and I went and picked it up, and I remember like the bright yellow microphone on it.
Yes.
And I plugged everything in and then turned it on, and it didn't work. And like Pikachu's running around, and I'm like, hello, like,
yelling
trying to, and I'm just like, okay, I really wanted to play this, but like at the time you didn't really have another option. Like I can't go back, like Blockbuster's not going to have a spare Hey You Pikachu microphone. Like that's the one that went with that game. So I was always kind of around it, and like I was always very into gaming, and I always never looked at myself as a gamer because I just assumed to like be a gamer, you had to like know everything and be up to date with every game and play every single game. And I realized later in life, like, no, it's about playing what you love and being what you're interested in. So like I did eventually finally get my hands on a Pokemon game, and I did play it. Like I played, Yellow, and might be why I'm instinct. You never know. But I just really got into it, and I had this really deep connection with all the little details they put in, and like how much they can convey in such a short amount of text, like in a Pokedex entry.
Yes.
And so I started really getting into it and the collecting aspect of it. Like the games I mentioned, like the grind of it all, like I enjoy those type of games as well. And Pokemon can like scratch that itch for you. So I became a pretty big fan, and that's kind of where I am at today. Still a very big fan.
Yeah, no, I think you the whole scratching an itch thing is a great way to put it, because I was watching something. It was an older video. I think it was from maybe 5 or 6 years ago. I should have shared it. But they were talking about the psychology of games that have the collection element in them, and how it triggers a certain part of the brain that other types of games don't even kind of interact with in your brain. And yeah, Pokemon, because there's artistic design and collecting and a couple different areas of focus, you're hitting that same kind of brain connection of the collecting bug, that itch, but in different portions of your brain, because it's touching different things. And that's why I say, like, people become so kind of wrapped up in the Pokemon world and in the universe, because they flesh out the lore, and they, the artistic design is on par with with the story and with the with the narrative. So it's
that explains everything.
Yeah, fun. It makes all sense now why I'm nuts, and I can't, and I wake up in the morning and it's like, it's Pikachu. Anyway. So when did were you a day one Go player? Did you start with when Pokemon Go first came out? Like I got to be so fascinated of this transition from, hey, I'm a person that downloaded Pokemon Go and I love Pokemon and I'm playing Pokemon Go, and oh my God, I work at Niantic. Like, how was that whole transition? Like, that had to be nuts.
I'm still processing that part, honestly. No, I was a day one player.
Yes.
I've had my account since day one, and my fiance Paul is the one who actually got me into it, because he follows like, the news outlets a little bit more closely than I have time to. And he was saying, oh yeah, it's coming. And then, it's this company called Niantic, like they did this other game Ingress. And so like he was really, informed about what was going on. And I was like, yeah, sure. Let's get it. Let's play together. And then I went hard. I went so hard. And I distinctly remember it was like 11 o'clock at night, and it was like the first week of playing, and I still hadn't seen a Pikachu, because back then Pikachu wasn't popping up everywhere.
Sure.
And there was one like a block down, and I was like, we're going. And he's like, I am not getting out of bed for you to go catch that Pikachu. And I was like, well, I'm going without you. And so he was like, okay, I'm not going to let you go without me. So like got up and we went, and like I definitely I definitely enjoyed the grind probably more than he did, because like when I go hard, I go so very hard. So I get a little obsessive, I guess. So yeah, day one.
That's great. I would have been a day one, but I had a Pokemon Trainer Club account, so I couldn't get in until like 12:07 a.m. on the next day. So I was like, no, my timestamp isn't day one.
Well, your heart has it.
Yes,
though.
yes,
okay.
It wasn't by lack of trying, but so the I got to talk about Team Instinct because it's already come up a couple times, and Adam is proudly, the yellow in our namesake, in our logo. So Adam, I'm sure, is excited that you're in Instinct, but you seem to be very passionate about Team Instinct. No, because look, we've had plenty of people on that are like, oh yeah, I like yellow, so I picked Instinct, or they're the underdogs. Like there's usually a good story behind choosing what team you went with. So lay it on us. Why'd you go yellow?
Well, I don't know if it's necessarily like the reason why I picked yellow. I think it was, my drive thereafter to make a point. So I had downloaded it, and, I was working at a different job, obviously, then, and I was the first one to get to the point that could pick a team. And so I was reading through the descriptions, and I saw, Team Instinct relies on their instincts, and that they have excellent intuition, and they want to know more about, like, the egg hatching process. And out of the three, like, oh, okay, that sounds, interesting. Like, out of the other two, in my opinion, at that time, I mean, if you are Valor or Mystic, that's your choice. And so, like, I was like, oh, okay, well, and, everybody picks red and blue, so why not yellow? And plus, this guy looks like he could be my brother. So I have 3 very blonde, blue-eyed older brothers, too. So, like, all right, let's go with the kind of derpy guy. And so I pick him, and I messaged Paul, and I was like, hey, have you picked your team yet? And he was like, no. And I was like, we're going Instinct. He's like, okay, fine. And so I'm playing, and then, like, I go out to, like, the common area of my job, and I was like, hey, guys, I picked Instinct. And they all turn around with their phones out, and they're like, oh, we all just went Valor.
The immediate, it was so great, like, the immediate, like, putting a flag in the ground, like, dun, 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 like, rival.
I was like, all right, that's fine. And we had a gym at that office.
Fantastic.
I was like, that's fine. And so I decided that I'm going to be the very best, like whatever was. And I was like, I will have this gym. And I did consistently hold that gym against my department for a very long time. And yeah, I think because I am just stubborn, man. I'm stubborn.
Well, it's interesting because, we'll kind of get into how, Niantic and the game at large has really developed over time. But, when at the launch window, when you're level 5 and you're choosing a team, there wasn't a lot of character, to the team leaders at that point. And now with them being so fleshed out and developed, like for a new player, it really gives you a little bit more to latch onto with like, what team do I want to be? It's like there's a lot more to it now, it seems, because the personalities are so clear for all the team leaders.
Yeah.
It's cool.
And we're having fun with that too.
Well, the dab thing we talked about,
yes,
like
that's exactly what I was thinking about.
I think we had reversal on that week, and of course we were cracking jokes and everything, and some people were mortified by it, and some people were like, "This is the absolute greatest, thing ever," and I was like, "This is like the most successful social media post." Like he gets it. those. It was the greatest thing.
It.
Like
it
elicited so many emotions. Like.
I was like, that's my
this
leader.
Dude he's really dabbing, dude. It's so funny. It's canon. I remember that's what I retweeted. I was like, it's canon. It's like, that's it. So cool.
I got a lot of comments about that. The dab took a lot of approvals, but
it's so awesome.
That was a
like, was that written on paper? Like, did that like
there was a moment when I looked up just to the sky from an email going, am I really writing this? But there's so many of those during the day. Like, that's my favorite thing to point out to my coworkers is like, you're the first person into existence has ever said that sentence. Like, the amount of those sentences we get each day, like, baffles me. But no, like, the dab thing, I've got a lot of, like, tweets on social and questions from, like, people in general that, like, recognize me and come up and, like, ask about it. And because it happened at GoFest on top of it, like, I was there while it was happening. People were like, why did you do that? And I was like, think about it. Who out of the three would dab? Who would dab in 2019? Who would think it was funny or cool? And they're like, "Oh yeah, you got a point." And it's like, "Yeah."
Dude, the amount of photos, I know, and it's canon, but the amount of pictures of people dabbing that came in the wake of that was so awesome. It was so cool.
Yeah.
It was really cool to see.
I love it. I mean, but that to me is who Spark is. Spark would dab in 2019.
Absolutely. Yes.
Fantastic.
100%.
So how did you make the transition to kind of getting involved with Niantic and ultimately, filling the role that you are now? Like, how did this start? Did you always have a plan of kind of working in that space, or did this kind of just come about?
So, no, when you're growing up and you're going to school, like, and you're going to college, like, community management was not on the checklist for jobs at the time. This industry is still very young with having, like, a person or even a team dedicated to community management. It's usually some kind of job that's attached onto, like, a support role or a social media manager role. And it's been, quite some time to actually define what community management is. And it's been around for a while now because I've been doing it for 10 years now, oddly enough. But it took a long time to get that defined and what it was. But when I originally went to school, I wanted to be a guidance counselor. And so I went and I got a degree in, like, communications and interpersonal communications, organizational communications. And I started working as a student advisor at a school called Full Sail University back in Florida.
Nice.
And the really cool thing about Full Sail is that, like, it's an entertainment art school. Like, there's game design, film, music, entertainment business, all different types of, like, career paths and degrees you could get that are based on the entertainment industry. So, like, I was always talking to the people who was my community, but not really realizing it until now.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I got into it and I realized that, like, I don't think I have the ability to turn off dealing with people on that kind of level. Being a person that's, like, an advisor is a very emotionally taxing. And I wanted to go into, like, social work and things like that, but I was like, hold up, let's wait and try this out and see if I like it before I invest further in, like, maybe a master's in social work or something. And it was just honestly too much emotionally. Like, I couldn't disconnect from the things I was hearing at work that was happening to these people when I went home.
Oh, I can totally understand that.
Yeah, it was like, it haunted you.
Sure.
And a lot of the times, like, it was directed at you when they're going through these hardships. And, like, I think that's a lot of the reason why I have a tough skin when it comes to community management is a lot of my time in counseling. But I realized, like, while I love education and I love working with students, there was something just not there. And so they posted a job for a community specialist, which was somebody who was, like, running their internal website and forums and clubs and, all of these, interactions, but primarily online. And I applied for it because I built my own forums, I built my own websites, and I was like, this sounds right up my alley. And I still get to work with the students in, like, not only a negative way, but a fun and kind of, more interesting way.
Right.
And so I switched over to that, and I did that for quite some time. I was at Full Sail for 7.5 years.
Wow.
And so, yeah, and then I went back to school because I realized, community management was what I wanted to do. And I wanted to do it on something I was passionate about, and that was always gaming. So I went back and got my master's in marketing, and I started looking for different jobs. And it's really hard job searching in the gaming industry when you're in Florida, and so many of the jobs are on the West Coast. And I actually had an interview with a really big gaming company. I'm not going to drop names, but the recruiter actually was, like, super honest with me and was like, listen, your credentials are great, but we have 3 other people who live here who are just as passionate about this role.
Oh, that sucks.
And yeah, and I'm just like, and they're like, that's just kind of how it is. And I was like, ugh. So I started downloading these job descriptions and, looking for the roles that would like make me super happy and try to use their like skill sets that they were looking for as more of a to-do list. And one of those things was like actual gaming industry experience, which is really hard to do when you're not in a game heavy area.
Right.
And so I actually started working like a second job nearby at a like relatively small mobile gaming company, and they were getting into VR. And so I took over all of their community and social and content management while I was working a full-time job, just to get that industry experience like on my resume.
That's legit.
And oddly enough, one of those job descriptions that I used as a checklist was this job, the original posting.
No way.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
I 99% sure I still have it saved on my PC. The folder that has all the resumes I used as like an inspiration, and the community manager for Pokemon Go was on it.
That
is
awesome.
so wild. Wow. That is so cool.
So finally I think I checked enough boxes that I was offered a job at Wargaming. They make World of Tanks, World of Warships, a military game, very different than from what I do now. And they were awesome, and they actually had a relocation package that came with the offer. So I was able to, relocate to the Bay Area here in California, and had to do that in 3 weeks. It was an absolute nightmare.
Wow.
Just well, it's also like, hey guys, I applied for this job and now I'm moving. Like can't really talk about it. So, picked up and moved, and then 9 months in, they shut down the studio.
Wow.
So if that doesn't make you a game industry veteran, I don't know what does.
Yeah, right. Well, and especially with, the Bay Area and, cost of living out there, like that's got to be super scary.
It was like, I'm not going to lie, it was a really dark time in my life. Like working at a job that, I loved and was comfortable in for 7.5 years, and then moving everything and leaving your friends, your family to like chase this dream of being in the gaming industry to, sitting on your bed realizing I got to find another job. Like all of that work you put in before, like, is it going to take just as long? Like it was, super intimidating. And on top of it, I got the flu. So I was just dealing with sickness and applying for jobs.
You were probably so spent. You were probably so emotionally and physically just, beat up from everything happening. Like, that's the worst.
Yeah, it was rough, but, I pushed through, and they offered to relocate us to a different studio, and something just told me, like, don't do it. Like,
Don't
stay here,
them.
Yeah, like stay here, try to look for something else. Like, they at least gave us a good chunk of time as far as notice goes. And, just put it out there. You can always make the decision later. And so I started applying, and I was getting calls, like, because I was in the Bay Area, and I remembered what that recruiter said, like, you need to be here.
Yep.
And so I was actually, I'm very grateful for this. I was interviewing like crazy, and I was talking to places that I could not believe that I was talking to, because it never would have happened before. Like, it was a little bit overwhelming. And then I saw the job go up on Niantic's job page, and I'm like, I know this job description. Like,
man.
And I was like, I literally can check every single one of these boxes. And so I applied, and I went in, and I remember walking out, and I was standing on the stairs walking out, and I was just like, I got to get this job. Like, I got to do this. Like, there is no other option. Like, I don't want any of the other ones. I want this one. Give me this job.
That's, well, I think it shows, because, and especially with your, with your position, it's there's got to be a level of personal passion and connection like that, because, you know, you're that position just requires someone to have those kind of core principles of caring for their job and the company that they work for. So, I mean, it's like, I think that's definitely some awesome foreshadowing into like how things have panned out over how long have you been there? A year and a half?
A year and a half now. It's insane. I can't believe it's gone by as quickly as it has, but then it's also like, it feels like a lifetime. Like, I feel like I've always been at Niantic.
Like you're meant to be there.
Yeah. I was the key Instinct member. I'm the only Instinct member on the marketing team until we convinced Kento, who's our product marketing lead. He finally switched to Instinct after the team medallion. Yeah, so I've converted him. Yeah.
So I'm telling you, I've heard more stories, like if people actually did go for the team medallion, they went to Instinct. Like, so many people have went to Instinct. Like, I remember hearing like, oh man, this is going to crush the numbers for Instinct. Everyone's going to, you know, leave and go to the bigger teams. And it was like, I don't know. I've heard the opposite in my area. It was like everyone was flocking to Instinct because they kind of, you know, they just wanted to be the underdog. It was cool.
Yeah, well, we dab. We're fun. We have a good time.
We sniff glue sometimes.
We wear yellow.
We dance. No, Adam. We dance like nobody is watching.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That is so Adam.
But Team Valor's here to remind you that we're all watching, though.
No, like, so I was the first one hired on to the immediate Pico team, the Pico marketing team that was Instinct, and then I brought in one of our designers, Kelsey, and I was like, yes, there's two of us, and then we converted Kento, which is like a big deal. So we're growing.
That's awesome.
Watch out.
And what is it about Pokemon Go that necessitates a global community manager? Like, I mean, obviously this was a cultural and global phenomenon, but like, how big is this community?
I mean, I heard nobody plays anymore. What are you talking about?
Yeah, people still play this game?
What?
But people still play this game? You know, oddly enough, they actually still do play the game. We're sitting at 1 billion downloads right now,
Jeez
which
Louise,
is
with a B.
A billion.
mind-boggling. Yeah. And so, well, I can't like discuss like daily active users, monthly active users. You know, I love my job, NDA, that type of thing. You know, like publicly, you know, we have 3 million followers on Twitter. And you see how active you all are. And those are the ones, those are the ones who are just on Twitter. It's amazing to go through Reddit and see just how active our trainers are. Then, you know, I'm on Discord in my local community, and there's a couple hundred of us, you know, walking around the same plaza every weekend. And it's just amazing to see like the dedication of the trainers and how it just becomes, you know, part of your life, not something like you have to do. Like, I walk to the train station every morning and I hit my Pokestops. I do my daily research. Like, it's part of my routine. And I think once it becomes part of your routine and it's something you enjoy, I think that's why people keep playing.
Yes. That's it for me. I mean, like that the whole routine thing and being a creature of habit, and again, scratching that certain part of the brain that, you know, helps you connect with the game because you find that solace and that therapeutic, you know, value in that routine. I think that's it becomes part of your day. It just really is. It's really cool. And I mean, 1 billion downloads, which is absolutely insane. What about Niantic? Now, like, how much has Niantic grown since Pokemon Go? Because, I mean, this changed everything, I can imagine.
Oh, I totally think so. I mean, Niantic has grown just so much since I've been there. And I was there when, you know, after the boom of Pokemon Go. Like, you know, obviously the game's still going and still going strong, but, like, I was in that little pocket of, you know, Pokemon Go hitting, like, 2 years and then getting ready for Potter. And so, you know, internally, you know, you got to watch it grow so much. But I was, you know, in my research for the job, I remember reading this article where John was talking about how the Ingress team was like only 36 people, like back in the day when Ingress launched. Wow. And then now I'm sitting here and I walk around the San Francisco office and I used to know every single person. There are days that I look for people I know.
Wow.
because like I travel a lot, especially over the summer, and then we have orientation, and so there's always just like you always know that there's new employees because there's bagels on Tuesday. So like everybody's like, yay, new people, there's bagels. But then like watching our offices grow around the world, talking to like Kento's over in our Tokyo office. And then, we have one of our regional community managers, Dominic, who's over in our Germany office, and then acquiring companies like Sensible Object and Matrix Mill and Seismic. Like all of these people come with these companies, and it's just amazing to see how much we've grown, like especially in like the past year. Like I feel like I'm one of the originals when I am far from one of the originals. Like it's just been amazing to watch.
Well, I think that comes with the sense of comfort that you feel with being in your element. Like, oh, I feel like I've been here forever, because you have that sense of comfort, which is awesome. That's, you should, that's something you should be like super proud of, because like that's something everyone's would want from a career. And that's really cool. Very
I was
cool.
super excited when you guys acquired Sensible Object, because I've been playing Beasts of Balance for years, and like I was so excited when I heard that.
Yeah, and those guys are awesome.
Yes,
the marketing team that came over with them, like we hang out, and they're just two cool dudes. We like them.
Adam and I come from the Toys to Life gaming space. Like back in the day, I was community manager for Toys for Games, which was like a really big Toys to Life podcast. And I think it was one of the later podcasts that they did. They had Alex Fleetwood on the show. So it was really cool, like hearing, seeing his path and knowing him through Toys for Games. And then it came up that, it was acquired by Niantic. I go, man, it's like, it's all coming full circle. It's like the coolest thing that, all this stuff is getting tied in. I was so incredibly excited for them. But Adam was like, you were like part of their founders on Kickstarter, right? For Beast of Balance. Yep. So cool. So awesome.
And I hung out with them in the Kickstarter room in PAX East.
Yeah, that's right. So awesome.
A lot of good times.
So what are the expectations of Niantic of you? So, I mean, I could imagine that the community has significant expectations, but what about from Niantic? Like, what's your,
what's on the plate?
What really, what's on your plate?
So there's a lot on my plate, but I do love it. So I don't want to make it sound like I'm complaining about anything.
It's the worst.
No, I think it's the hard part when the thing that's kind of your hobby also becomes your job. So I do enjoy the work that I do. So community management is definitely one of them. And when I think about community management, I really define it as being the voice of the community, that representative from the community who's walking in the door, who's kind of like, sits down at the table and puts her hands down, like, okay, right. These are our demands.
Toretto.
But it's much bigger than that, because I'm involved in so many points of the process. And one of the coolest things about working with Niantic, and I noticed like coming in and through the interviews and through, everything that we talk about at Niantic, like community is always so high on that list. Like it's the top of the list, like community first. It's our players first. And my job is to really try and bring that trainer perspective to every point of the process, be it, here's a concept we're developing. How do you think it would be received? To, hey, maybe we should do this and, do A instead of B because A's not cool. So
nobody wants A.
Yeah, like what? But not so often. Like we do have a very huge room of Pokemon fans and amazing, talented people on all of our teams. But it's like providing, feedback and guidance like every step of the way. And then even once it's out the door, providing, up-to-date community sentiment and temperature, and really just digesting everything the community has to say and being able to like translate that and provide it as like feedback and a solution. And that's, I think, where people struggle. Like when they read things like on Reddit, like I see so many comments of like, Niantic never reads Reddit. I read you every day, Reddit, I promise. But like, it's being able to digest all of that from every channel on a global scale and being able to help make suggestions and solutions and make a call that can benefit like every trainer. And it's a lot of our time is spent doing that. But then I'm also responsible for all external communications that come from Pokemon Go. Does this sound like Pokemon Go? Does this sound like Niantic? Is this conveying the details that we should communicate, and leaving out the ones that we can't communicate? Like making sure everything sounds like Pokemon Go. So
yeah, I'd imagine that portion, that kind of intangible importance, is got to be a difficult, piece of this pie, because, people will look at a specific post, right? And they can dissect word for word and try to extrapolate, good, bad, and different from a specific post. But understanding that, like you said, it's the global voice, the brand voice, like that's gotta be hard, because you're trying to talk to such an incredibly, not only large community, but such a diverse community. So that's gotta be quite the feat, to try to put things together in a way that is kind of, digestible from such a diverse and massive community. That's pretty wild.
And trying to stay true to the brand of Pokemon, like their voice, what they talk about, what they choose not to talk about. Like you will never hear things referred to spawns. That's just not how they're ever been referred to in the Pokemon games themselves. Exactly. So like there's so many of those little details that things have to be said a certain way, where you want to, keep the magic. Like the world of Pokemon is magical and it's amazing, and it's they're not going to say exactly like, oh, hatch a 100% IV this on this day. Like those aren't things that are the primary focus of communications, unfortunately. But, that's just not the brand.
Well, I think that speaks to kind of Melissa's perspective on all of this, because, Adam and I, will dig into the nerdy stuff and the numbers and the logistics and the analytics and the reasons and the math and all that good stuff. And then you have Melissa who's like, but this one's so cute.
Yeah, that's really all I care about. I just want to fill my decks, and I just want lots of really cute ones.
Like it reminds me sometimes, it's when I hear her perspective, it reminds me like, oh yeah, these are our friends. Like this is a magical world. And like I always say, like I'm the first to admit, like I love that real, nerdy, passionate, campy space of, friendship and love and that, all that good stuff, the message and the core values and pillars of Pokemon and all that good stuff. So yeah, that's it. It is easy to get caught up in, like you said, I need this 100% hatch, all that. But you got to remember, like, no, this is, someone from a new region is coming, and, it's like there's, these are our friendly little creatures. It's cool. It's fun. But take us through a day, because I remember, I know you're on the West Coast, but I'm someone that doesn't sleep, right? So I would message you, I don't know, at some stupid hour, and
calling me out.
But I'll be like, don't answer this. Don't answer this. Don't respond. And then like you respond right away. I'm like, I go, why is she working right now? Like, take us through your day. Like, are you plugged into the Matrix 24/7? Like, how does your day go?
Well, it's like I said, it's kind of hard when, something that is your hobby is also your job. And then, while you work really hard, you still love what you're working on. Like, I do definitely need breaks from things. Like, I am going on vacation next week, and I am very excited about that.
Yay.
But it's really hard to completely disconnect when things are so easily accessible, especially, like, things online. But first thing in the morning, I usually wake up, because we have global offices, and like obviously the Pokemon company is a global company. I do have meetings in multiple time zones, so I check my calendar to make sure. Maybe I can snooze again. Maybe I can take a later train into the city. But just really reviewing my day. But the first thing that I do, because my commute is about 25 minutes, I am on Reddit. I am going through, okay, what happened last night? What happened on the other side of the planet last night? Yeah. Is there anything I need to know about? So I check, like, our internal communications channels to find out, like, what if, I'm not saying if, like, the game's down. Like, I need to know, like, was it down last night? How has appropriate messaging gone out through Niantic Help? Like, all of those check boxes for me. then I go through Reddit, I go through Twitter, I go through Discords, I go through basically my primary places to kind of just get where everybody's feeling before I even get to the office. Because as soon as I hit the ground in the office, I spend so much of my time in meetings where I have to be like actively present and be able to speak to what's going on in the community. So I use that time in the morning to do that. And I do schedule times to monitor. Like I have 3 reminders that are set up to make sure I go through my full cycles, but honestly I'm usually connected, like you're calling me out late at night.
I can picture you being in like a closed door meeting and like someone comes in with like a folded post-it note, like slides it across the table to you, like opening it up, it's like, it's Armageddon online. Like
no, I slide it back and I go, I already know. because I don't disconnect. But then, once I hit the ground in the office, like I have meetings, and so much of my work is project based. So like, depending on where we are in that part of, whatever feature we're launching or whatever event that we're doing in the game, there's different checkpoints we have to do with different departments, be it engineering or product or the internal marketing team that I work with, or Pokemon in Tokyo or Pokemon in Seattle or Pokemon in London, depending on who it is. I need to make sure all of those things are together. So any aspect, the meetings will be faced on. And then we have our stand-ups for Pokemon Go, the game, like the cross-functional teams. And then we have Pico stand-up for the marketing team. So a lot of meetings and then reporting and regurgitating all of the stuff.
I love that stuff. Like, man, like it sounds so dreamy to be able to like scour spreadsheets about Niantic data like that. Oh man, it sounds so dreamy to me. Oh, I want to see those formulas.
Yeah, so like there's a report we do every Monday and I have the appropriate Pikachu face for the be like, what's the community temperature today? Which form of Pikachu is going in the corner?
It's like when you're at the hospital, it's like point to your pain, like the different varying smiley faces. It's Pikachu getting like angrier and angrier. It's like Thundershock at the end.
So, creating those reports and, postmortems are really important, like breaking down how things go, like breaking down sentiment, like how was it in the first hour, within the first 5 hours, 24 hours, and then now as we move away. I'm constantly talking to the content creators and sharing information with them so we can, talk about the different types of content they can make. And so talk to them probably during the day a couple times, and then just massive amounts of project management. I work with our team to help get everything executed and on time and everything else. And then obviously spending time with my amazing team because I love them all. And then I get on the train and then I use that time to approve all of those Twitter posts you guys see. I go through and I approve all the 9 languages and make sure the right language is on the right channel. And then I go back through Reddit and social and then I go home.
Shout out to your teammates. I know that's ridiculous.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, hopefully you have a Go Plus going. All right, wait. Can you play the game in the office? Like, is it?
See, that's what I was going to ask, but I wasn't sure if that was like appropriate. I was like, how many people in the office actually play the game or have it going?
So we have a Slack channel that's called SF Raids. And so if you're in it, you get pinged if there's a raid within walking distance nearby. And then, if we can, like, we try to walk. Like, we have a lot of meetings that are one-on-ones. And so instead of like being in a meeting room, we go for a walk. And then it's like, our senior event manager, Michael, he and I would have our one-on-ones. He's like, oh, you want to go across the street and raid? And so like, we'll talk and we'll,
that is fantastic.
Yeah, so we'll talk and raid, or like, there's an EX raid gym down the street, and so like we can go and do that one. But it's really awesome because it's like social, but you're also doing something, and yeah, we play a lot. And then like the other day there was 100% Shuckle in the lobby, and so everyone was like, oh my god.
And what about like shinies? When somebody gets a shiny, is like the whole group and on the whole team knows it? Is that
nuts?
Yeah, pretty much.
Face.
Well, I was when we were in Yokohama. Veronica, our product marketing manager.
Yo, she's from Jersey.
She from Jersey.
Hell
yeah,
she is. She represents.
She's the Plusle to my Minen. We are. I don't know how Niantic hired the two of us separately to realize how perfectly we get along. We are complete opposites but identical. Like, she runs hard, I run hard. Like, she is absolutely amazing and is like an inspiration to me, honestly. And I know that she looks at me the same way, and then that makes me want to cry, and then whatever. So she forced me to do a raid after getting off of a flight from here. So I'm super jet lagged. We went to the Pokemon Center, and I was like, I don't want to do this. Why are we here? Like, we're trying to get to the point where we can finally go to sleep and not be terribly jet lagged the next day for the Go Fest in Yokohama. And so we're raiding, and I'm not even paying attention. Like, I am not even like looking at my screen. And so finally do it, and then it's shiny. And she was so mad because she loves Rayquaza, loves it. And I'm like, okay, fine. I took a screenshot. I was like, I'm going to put this on Twitter. And I put my phone away. And I start getting messages from people at Niantic going, where did you get that? And I was like, what? It's a shiny Rayquaza. And they're like, Liz, praise it. And it's perfect. Veronica has never told me how angry she is at me for this. But she usually is a very smiley, upbeat person. You bring it up and she's not very happy about it.
No, you guys are awesome online. You have like such a cool dynamic. I see you guys interacting all the time on Twitter, and I was just like, dude, this dynamic is so rad. Like, they're so good with each other.
We're a mess.
It's so cool. No, but yeah, I forgot what she had posted once, something about her. Maybe it's in her bio or something. She said Jersey. So I would always, reach out to her and be like, yo, Jersey's in the house. It's like, it's so cool. We love, Melissa and I obviously are from Jersey. So we love, seeing people with a Jersey background, the Jersey background. Yeah.
She's quality people.
Good stuff. All right, you mentioned the content creators, and this is something that's very intriguing to me because, I'm very passionate about the podcasting space and the podcasting format, and that's why I'm so excited that you've come on the show, because this is kind of breaking into new ground with working with another branch of content creation. Because while there is a significant amount of cross, the consumers crossing from the podcast space to the YouTube space, it flows upward from podcast to YouTube. So it's more of a lateral difference when you go from YouTube to podcast. So there is a large segment of people that don't use Twitter and YouTube that are in the podcast consumer base. So it's like this is like a new format. So there's like a lot of people even that are in our Discord, they may not connect with the YouTubers. They may not be on social media, but they're still social with the game. So being on a podcast, it's cool because you're going to be connecting with a new segment, with a different segment of people. So when Niantic started working directly with the content creators, like how did that all come to be? Because I remember the first year or year and a half of the game, it was, quiet with the connection between Niantic and the creators. And now it seems you guys are, like you said, you're talking to them on a daily basis. So how did that kind of whole thing come about? And really, what's the benefit of that for Niantic?
So when I started, like I said before, like our team and Niantic grew a lot in the past year. And so when I started, I was essentially gifted the ones that we currently had, like the larger ones, like Pokemon Master Holly, Mystic 7, Trainer Tips, Reversal. They were already having conversations with Niantic and being able to get some updates, but the person who needed to do that wasn't working there yet, and that was me. So like, no fault of anyone's own. It was just literally time, bandwidth, like trying to run a game and then also have, a content creator type program or relationships is, what was designed for this role that I eventually took. So while some of the relationships were already established, they weren't like formalized to the point where they are now. And I took the experience that I had with influencers at like previous jobs, and so started building out and wanting to make sure that there was regional representation? Do we have somebody from APAC and EMEA, the United States? Do we have anybody from Latin America? Really trying to get representation of trainers globally, and then trying to give them the information that they need to make better content. And so that's been my mission all along, to, grow it, start building those relationships, start building that trust you need. Like when it comes to leaks in this industry, it's a painful thing. And, building up those relationships. And I'm just very, very, very fortunate, like Zoe says, I have a bunch of good eggs. Like I'm very, very fortunate that I get to work with these people who are just really cool people, regardless of them being, content creators or even Pokemon Go players. I enjoy spending time with them on a personal level, not just like a work level. And so like that family kind of friend feeling is really important to me to kind of capture, because like we are the ones that have like a platform to talk to the community. And I want everyone to feel, safe to talk about things like, maybe they have feedback or they have concerns. Like it's a two-way street. Like, let's talk, let's figure this out. So it's been really rewarding, and like it's been growing. We have at least 3 representatives from each region, and so we're going to continue growing and hopefully adding in more. My big focus is to make sure we have a lot of diversity, and that like every trainer can see themselves in the group that we have.
Yeah, podcast.
But I was waiting for that. Oh my god!
But no, I think that dynamic and that kind of that sentiment of you enjoying their company and the dynamic that they all have with each other really came across in the summer tour videos, because you guys just looked like you were having genuinely awesome times. And I think that being able to capture that on film and ultimately use that as marketing and a messaging, it really captured kind of the magic and the essence, not just of the Pokemon franchise, but what the social element and the community element of Pokemon Go is all about. I think you guys did a fantastic job of capturing that feeling in that video series, because you guys really looked like you were having fun. It was so cool. And
thank you.
Yes,
that was given to me my second week here.
Whoa. That's sick.
It was
Lucky?
Me and Veronica, and we're like, hey, what do you want to do?
It's so cool. And man, Mystic 7, we had Mystic 7 on last week, and he was like, yeah, I really want to do this 7 Wonders of the World trip. I was like, yo, that'd be sick. That would be so wild. But what I mean, you've worked on a ton of stuff. Like look, you're the global community manager for Pokemon Go, but obviously what we've learned already is that your fingers are connected and touching lots of different areas of this game. Like what have you worked on when it comes to this game, like outside of necessarily community management stuff? Like you've been involved with a bunch, right?
Yeah, the thing that I try to do going back to lists, there's a spot in my notebook at the very front where like I put down the things that I've worked on. Kind of like Paul has a list of like completed games he has done in 2019, and I kind of took that idea of like, okay, completed things for 2019.
Yo, nerd cred to Paul for keeping that list. Let me tell you.
He's a good nerd. He keeps lists. That's like the only list. That is the shade I am throwing at him right now. But so I have that sheet in my notebook, and so like I was going through it earlier, and it's like, okay, so the travel tour was week 2, and then we went into friends, trading and gifting, and I was there 10:30 at night taking screenshots in Korean, trying to recreate. Hey, somebody's got to take those screenshots. Somebody has to do the screen recording. Who do you think it is?
That's great.
Veronica and I have spent a lot of time trading Pokemon back and forth. Like a lot of we have a test accounts on like a test server, which is where I end up living a lot of my times because I get to test out the new features that are coming. And our accounts just like, we're like best friends in those accounts, and we trade stuff back and forth. And so those are the accounts we use to, capture the footage for those types of things. But so yeah, Lucky Trades, Lucky Friends, the Lowlands came out, Adventure Sync. I actually got to help brainstorm the name for Adventure Sync, which I think is really cool.
Yes.
Let's Go, I don't know if anybody's heard of it. It's kind of a big deal. Got to work on that. The collaboration was like amazing. You know, those moments when you're in a meeting and you're like, oh my God, on the inside, but like completely mature on the outside. Trader battles, went through that whole thing. Global research challenges last year and then this year. This year was definitely much more my baby because I wanted to make it very much about the team leaders. I needed to build them up for any kind of grunts that might come their way. But worked on that. Go Snapshot, not just the feature and the name and everything like that. The contest we put on amazing contest. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was fun.
I have a huge hand in special research because I now write like the dialogue and storyline for those. Anything that comes to the shop, like lures, avatar items. I was there for the launch of hair colors and very excited to have my pink hair in the game.
Yes.
Any event that happens, Go Fest, Safari Zones, I'm heavily involved in all of those. Every in-game event I touch, every single one of them, I'm involved in. Like the brainstorming for them, the deciding of what goes in for them, like all of that I'm part of. Team Go Rocket. I'm getting tired, guys. Shadow and Purified Pokemon. Like I was part of that entire process. They're like, should we call it Shadow? And I was like, yes, we should just call it Shadow. Releasing Sinnoh and now Unova. And I know that I'm missing things, but this has been my past year and a half, and it's been just mind-blowing.
That's so fun to have your fingers on so many little tiny things.
You just ran through the whole history
honestly,
of the game.
The fact that you got to say anything about whether or not I was called a Shadow Pokemon, that is the cutest thing ever. It's that's fun. That's fun. That's not a bad problem to have at a job.
It's like they're like, oh, you're like, oh yeah, I love Avenger Sync. It's such a good feature, and it's like, yeah, I named that.
My little fingers have touched that. Yes.
Obviously, you worked on so many of these mechanical areas of the game. But again, when it comes to this intangible thing of the community and styles of behavior, just, the snapshot of between Melissa, Adam, and I, we all play 3 very different ways. So with that being said, is it difficult to kind of keep your finger on the pulse of all these different types of players within the global community? Because the game has really created so many different little pockets of play styles. So with that being said, is it tough to keep track of that that whole thing?
Well, like you said, when people ask me, they're like, oh, well, what about this and this and this? It's like, that might not be important to a trainer. This might be important to another trainer. And it's like, every single one is different. And even if they're like a quote unquote collector, there might be a very specific collector. They might want to have a male and a female of every single one, or they need to have a shiny of every single one, or they need to have a lucky dex. There's so many different versions of collectors in general. And then you have, your battlers, your, more casual players, your hardcore level 40 times 8 trainers that are just oh my goodness, the amount of grinding to get to that point is just mind-boggling and honestly impressive. Wow. But like I said, every single trainer is different. And so we try to have some kind of balance. And we have to think about things that keep us balanced or things that keep us on a guided course. So Pokemon Go is a Niantic game. Yes, we are partnered with, Pokemon Company and everybody like that. But we still have our Niantic missions that we have to use that kind of keep us on track. So if anything that we have as far as a feature or as an idea to bring to the game, does it support one of those principles? And the first is exploration, second is exercise, and the third is real-world social interaction. So while we make choices for the game and decide to do things, do those choices support those 3? Or do they not? And so if they don't, then we have to kind of find a way that it does support it while staying true to the game and to our trainers and what they want. So it's a huge balance, but when it comes down to it, we have our core values, and that really drives us to make the decisions that we do.
Oh, that's so cool, because I think that is what will keep this game with having a defined path and a clear vision of how things are delivered. Because like you said, if it's not connected to one of those 3 core values, like, got to figure it out to make it work with one of those core values. So I think that's really neat, because that's really what makes this game different. The exercise and the exploration and being out there and
one of my favorite things about the game is, like, with Adventure Sync, you can, strap that on and you can go for a run, and you can put a 5K in, and you're just like, boom. I just hatched that egg by running,
You're gamifying things that, were so passive before. It's like, how can I connect Pokemon Go to this task or this thing that I'm doing anyway? And now all of a sudden Pokemon Go has its fingers, in that task. It's like, it's just, again, furthering that connection to the lifestyle of what this game has become. It's almost like I had a conversation with someone the other day about games as services and things like World of Warcraft and, subscription-based games and things like that. And it's like, man, well, it's with Pokemon Go, it's become this lifestyle thing where it's almost like the games for service model, but you connect that, instead of connecting that to commerce, you connect that to like the human element. And I think that's what Pokemon Go does so well, is it's able to connect with us as humans on all these different levels that will help us kind of, put out there how we want to play the game specifically to us, because there's so many different play styles. And Pokemon Go has such a good way of reinforcing those values of whatever it is we want to do, because it's such a diverse thing. It's very cool. It's fascinating to me to hear, all these decisions and all these things that can happen, a million moving parts, kind of all go back to these 3 core values. That's super cool. It's very interesting.
And the thing for me, though, which I try to explain, is that the things that we do, or at least like the way I look at it, the things that I do for the game, they not only have to support the three of those, but they can't contradict the 3. To me, those are 2 very separate concepts. Like, you can do something that supports exploration, but does not encourage real-world social interaction. So, like, it could have a negative impact on another pillar. And that's just how I approach it. Like, I'm not speaking on behalf of everyone else, but like, you implement something in a game and it's like, okay, this would make it easier to do this, but that would directly conflict with our goal of real-world social interaction, like getting people off the couch and out the door and to their nearest Pokestop or gym. Like, would that completely contradict that behavior that we're trying to encourage? And so it's 2 sides of that. It's not just supporting, it's also not contradicting. So it's really helpful for us, honestly, because like, if we can come back and be like, nope, it doesn't do this for this, then we know that we have to move on and keep brainstorming and come up with something that feels right.
So with that being said, though, the decisions regarding like mechanics and events and updates, I mean, they have to be exceptionally difficult to pull off, because there's got to be so many moving parts. Like, how, like, the implementation process when something new is coming out in the game, that's got to be a pretty significant feat.
It's a long process. And, like you were saying, being a live service game, like, we don't have a release date where all of this stuff like hits at once. Like, there's consistent updates and things always happening in the game and different events and new features coming. And when it comes to all of these huge moving pieces, like, I'm extraordinarily lucky to have the teams and the team on marketing that we do, because we are all really held accountable for the pieces of the puzzle that we're responsible for. And project management systems are extremely, extremely helpful. So we utilize those. And so you can basically track, like say, let's refer to Go Snapshot. Something that's released. You see where it was first put in the system and where the idea came across and everything was being fed in, and feedback and presentations. And then, when it finally started going and being assigned to different teams, like this long string of everybody's step. And so those types of things keep things, in check. And you can see exactly where you are in the process depending on the project. So we rely heavily on process and making sure people are doing what they're expected to be doing and they're responsible. Like, every single person I have met at Niantic loves this game and doesn't want to be the person that messes it up. Like we all
Wasn't me.
like no like
Thank you for
I didn't make that decision.
Like we all truly love this game and want to make something great that people enjoy and want to play. You know, they're Pokemon fans just like everyone else, trying to do a good thing and give a good thing back. And so every step is mapped out. We can see things are happening across departments. We have tons of cross-functional meetings. Like we have one every morning, just to see where everything's at and being able to adjust as a team, because like something that hits product will hit marketing in 3.5 weeks. And so we need to move back. So it's really interesting to watch all the pieces get together. But like just in the marketing department, even with like just a blog post going live, we have to coordinate social, coordinate in-app news, push notifications, get the content creators on board, anybody who needs to be involved in that process. We do a let's get live, and sometimes they put on some music and we, just get in the zone and just knock it out. And so we all work together to get it out the door.
It's so fun. Oh my God. It's got to be, I can't imagine that just being that big and so many moving parts, but you're all focused on the one thing. That's super cool. That's it's so exciting. And what's like kind of the favorite? What are the best parts of your job? I mean, you've obviously been glowing with support for what it is that you do, so it's very inspiring. What are the best parts of your job?
Working at Niantic is really, really amazing. It's one of those places where, as someone that has obviously been laid off and you've been at other companies, we've all had bad jobs. I think every single person can say they've had a bad job. And it's kind of like, it's so good, you're waiting for the other shoe to drop. It's like, wait a minute. Like, I'm not comfortable. Why are you so nice? Like, are you always this nice? Like, everyone's so nice. Like, it's
isn't that weird when that's the weird thing?
Yeah. And like, then everybody's so passionate, and then like everybody's like so good at what you do. It's almost like you kind of get a little bit of an imposter syndrome. You're like, but then like, hey, if I'm here and they're here, that must mean I'm good too. And so you try to keep yourself hyped up. So working at Niantic is, honestly just awesome in itself. Like, I'm really happy to be part of the Niantic culture and the Niantic community just as much as I'm proud of the Pokemon Go community. But our community too is obviously second word of my job title, is amazing. And y'all are dedicated, and you love the game, and you love it to the level of like, you say something and I'm like, I know. Like,
it's so awesome.
It is amazing to me, just like the theories and the conversations that come out of it. And it's like, sometimes you guys are, oh yeah. Sometimes you guys are 100% right. And then sometimes it's like, oh no. But like the community, like, and for me, Pokemon Go was the first physical gaming community that I could stand with people. Like, I've never been able to do that before. Like, you can go to like a gaming convention and people are there that love the same game that you love. But can you stand in a park with a couple thousand other people who are playing at the same time, having the same shared experience? No. Yes. And to me, that's like...
Yeah, that's the unique...
Yeah, seeing my community physically appear is like mind-boggling, and it's amazing. And it's one of the reasons why, like, back in the day when I first downloaded the game, like, I was going through a really bad time in my life. I lost most of my belongings in a flood. I just had, family and friends of mine lose people in, I'm going to get a little dark here, during the Pulse shooting back in Orlando.
Right.
And it was just not a good time for me personally, obviously, and not a great time for Orlando. And my heart was like breaking for the Orlando community and for my friends and family who lost loved ones. And it was the first time I saw people getting out and walking around and being like, just like the community that we are, and people having fun and enjoying the game and having that little slice of peace. Like everybody posts that same tweet on Twitter about like, oh, it was the only time we had world peace is when Pokemon Go launched.
Right. Yep.
And like physically witnessing the community being like there in person and having that like impact on me as well, like this community will always mean something incredibly special to me. So that is truly the best part of my job, is our community. And then, you know, working on a game and a franchise that I love. Like, I love Pokemon. Like, obviously. Like,
yes, as do we.
My house is a Pokemon center. Like,
oh, dude, you don't even know.
Yeah, I've got all these gallery figures. Oh my goodness.
I was on a video call with TPC in Tokyo, and they thought I was in the Seattle office.
They're like, no, that's my bedroom.
Like, this is my office. That's my bookshelf. That's all my stuff. So, cool. I'm just overwhelmingly grateful for like the fact that this is my job. My job's amazing.
As we wrap up here, because we're going a little long, so I don't want to keep you too much longer. Tell us about some fun stuff you've done, because I know that you were involved with the Jirachi Quest, and to tell us about that process and how fun that was for you.
So special research is like one of the few ways that we can get storyline. And I was able to actually work with our game designer, Laura, up in our Seattle office, and we created a storyline that was a little bit fun, a little bit silly, and it was just a really amazing process to match the gameplay that was designed to storyline. And, you know, talk as Professor Willow. It's like a dream come true, like watching your words in a game and knowing it's localized in 9 languages and people all over the world are reading the story that you helped put together.
Was it your choice to catch 3 Whismur? Was that you?
No. I said storyline. The game does. Her name is Laura. No, I'm just
kidding. Dude, people were clamoring for some Whismur. They're like, really? This is what's gonna hold me up for 2 weeks? It's so funny. That's so great. Now that's got to be a cool feeling. You always miss them when
they're gone. Always miss them when they're
precisely. Gone. Bring back Pidgey. I can imagine how cool that is to see it actually happening, and you know, get to see it on social kind of unfold as people are kind of peeling back the layers of the quest, and you know how that all goes out and how people get excited like that. That had to be very gratifying and super super cool to witness. Not just as a creator, but as just kind of managing the community. That's really neat. All right, wrapping up here. This sounds so heavy. Like, you know, seems like this is really something that you've kind of worked your whole life for, and you really feel and sound like you feel very much at home. Like, has this been life changing for you? Like, is this kind of taken you to new places that in your life personally that, you know, like what has really kind of struck you as some kind of like OMG moments?
The past year and a half has been like, I feel like I'm getting pranked. Am
I being punked?
I'm getting punked, yeah. Like, I've had, you know, some really amazing moments, and like, I don't want to make it sound like we don't work. Like, it's hard work, guys. Like, we work and we work hard and we enjoy what we do, but that does not make it not work. So I do want to preface that, like, we do actually put in the blood, sweat, and tears to this, but we do get fun stuff. But for me, like, so many of the life-changing moments were like going to TPC in Tokyo and like standing in, you know, the Pokemon company. That was amazing. And I caught a Farfetch'd there. Like, you know, come on.
That's so
like,
cool.
And so like doing that, and then, you know, I got to meet the president at GoFest, and he was like, hey, the Jirachi Quest was great. And I'm like, I'm dying.
Yes. Oh my God, I would have died too.
And then like, you know, somebody asked me to sign a Switch, and I was like, do you not know who I am? Like, why are you asking me? Like, go ask somebody else. And it's like, then somebody else asked, and I was like, this is the weirdest moment of my life, is like signing a Switch.
So
and
cool.
Then we launched Meltan. Like, Meltan's first appearance in the whole entire Pokemon universe happened at Pokemon Go. That's the first time people got to see Meltan.
It's so rad.
Being part of that and having that secret, that was rough. But like, it was, you know, that's never happened. Like, I get to do things that have never happened before. And I would probably say like the weirdest and biggest moment was when Masuda-san actually asked me to put on my Nurse Joy hat for a picture. And I was like, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Oh, yes.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Because and so like it's been amazing. It's been quite the ride.
Oh, you seem so happy and satisfied.
I know,
like,
right?
Like,
that's
man,
you
so
were made
rad.
for this.
Like, there's so many people that hate their jobs, and it's just so nice to talk to someone who like genuinely and it doesn't even seem like you're just saying this stuff because you got to put on the face. Like, you genuinely love your job, and like that's such a rad thing to say.
Thank you. I appreciate you saying that. Like, there's things that I hate. I hate having things in an inbox. I hate getting on the BART every morning and, being on public transit.
Of
like,
course,
there's
that
definitely
makes it
things
work.
that...
If there wasn't stuff that sucked about it, it wouldn't be called work. It would just be called fun life all day long. And
play.
getting paid
I
for
gotta go to
it.
play. Oh, I gotta wake up at 9 a.m. for play. No, you gotta wake up at 9 a.m. for work.
But, like, there's just so many moments in every single day where, like, we're brainstorming or talking about something, and I, like, sit straight up and I go, and Veronica's like, what is it? What's the idea? And then it's like we get so excited and we talk about it, and it's just so satisfying on a creative level. And, like, I love my job, guys. It's great.
Oh,
cool.
I'm so happy for you.
Now,
thank you.
Now, I know that this is, the future. Okay, there's so much speculation.
Oh, red
There's
tape.
so-
Hold on.
Put on a
God,
tinfoil
here we
hat.
go. No.
I'm telling you, we're gonna start. No. But honestly, though, on a random side note, we're gonna somehow figure out a way to put tinfoil hats into merchandise. We're gonna work on. We're actively working on that, guys.
What?
Where
A
we're gonna
Pikachu
be
Pikachu with a tinfoil hat in game?
We're gonna be retailing tinfoil hats. But
No, he's just going to be in the game.
anything that you
Nobody
can
asked for this hat.
Pikachu. Anything you can kind of talk about when it comes to the future of the game. I mean, I know you can't say much, but is there anything that you could possibly slip up and say right now?
Well,
Put her
I
on
can
the
tell
spot,
you.
bro.
Oh no, I'm ready for these things. I will tell you that we do enjoy putting things as far as like little comments in the blog or something somewhere, like for the Ultra Unlock, the last week's the first letters of each sentence spelled out Unova.
Yeah, that was
so
awesome.
like you guys gotta look for those things, and it localized. Do you know how satisfying that was?
Oh, I didn't even think of that. That had to be a crazy little,
It was
yeah.
beautiful. I get such satisfaction when things work like
it
that.
worked.
Like, yes, the gears are grinding properly. Yes.
Yeah, but I can't tell you because like you guys just said, oh, you love your job, so I'm not gonna break NDA. But like, I just want to like take a step back and remember what it was like in 2016. And then look at the year I just talked about. Like, Team Go Rocket's in the game. We have our own division of Team Rocket. Like,
yes.
Did anybody think this was coming? Like,
No.
So just, no. So just, look at what we've accomplished. Obviously, we're not slowing down. 2020 is going to be amazing. I'm super excited for it. And it's going to be fun. And like, I mean, if you guys are here for the ride, like, let's go. It's going to be great.
Yes, that's so awesome. Liz, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, we appreciate you coming out.
It was totally worth the wait.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm so sorry it took so long.
No.
Good
things are worth the wait.
This is just me explaining why it took so long.
She's just like, I forgot my password. I couldn't get into my email.
I swear to you, I was busy. Look, I did all these things.
No, but we really do appreciate you coming on the show. I think that it's awesome that Niantic now has some representation in the podcast space. I think that's very important for our format. And I think that our community is very grateful that you've come on because, like I said, they not all of our community gets the bulk of their data from social or from YouTube. So it's great to really have representation of Niantic in the podcast space. I think that's fantastic. I really do appreciate you coming on. Why don't you let our community know where they can find you if they wanted to connect with you or Niantic at large, I guess, if in case they're living under a rock, under a Geodude.
On Twitter, we're for the Pokemon Go app, and then obviously across social for that. But for me, I'm Alolan Bunny on all social accounts like Twitter and Instagram. And then if you want to keep up to date with what we're doing at Niantic, it's nianticlabs.com. We have some great content coming out of our Niantic social channels talking about like what we do. So you guys can get to know us on the Niantic side, not just like the Pokemon Go side. Like we're doing a lot of cool things. I hear we have a game about Harry Potter now. So
that's a thing.
Check it out. It's a thing. It's cool because like obviously there's not a lot of crossover, but like watching both teams running on the side and like kind of wave and be like, "Hey guys!" And
I know.
Hey.
It's like you get the nod. You know, you drive by someone with the same car as you. It's like
I just had a visual of like people walking by holding Pokeballs and then people running by holding brooms, like running by like with brooms in between their legs.
That's every Friday, man. Every Friday.
Oh, perfect.
That's so awesome. Well, thanks again for coming on. Everyone else, please check out luredup.com for everything that we're doing. Make sure you connect with Niantic on social, as well as Alolan Bunny, because she's fantastic.
She sure
and
is.
obviously she wants to hear from you and hear about your community, because I think that she's painting an amazing picture for Niantic of what this community is all about globally and locally. And I think it's very important that we represent our communities in a way that can easily be identified by Niantic, because they're looking at this stuff, and you know it's a good way for us to set an example and set a path for how we would like Niantic to react to our communities. So it's let's be proactive here and get involved. I think it's fantastic. And Niantic, whenever you're ready to open that New York office, I'm like right outside of the Holland Tunnel. I could be there at like 9 a.m. Monday morning. So just
Did you not hear that I relocated?
Get with the program.
So if you have that relocation package, I can be in San Fran at 9 a.m. on Monday morning.
No, but thank you so much for having me, and like, hello to the podcast community.
Yes, yay! So awesome. We really do appreciate you coming on. But anyone else, you can email us, info@luredup.com. Please give us a call. You can leave us a voicemail, 732-835-8639. Check out luredup.com for everything that we're doing on the show, PokemonProfessor.com for everything we're doing on the network. We do have a pin available from Secret League. I'll put the link in the description. Other than that, guys, I think we did it.
We have done
it.
Liz, thanks for joining us.
No, this is awesome. Hopefully you guys you'll have me back.
Yes, absolutely. In 7 months. No, I'm just kidding. All right, everyone. Keep training, trainers. We'll talk to you next week.
Bye, friends.
Later.
Bye.